Hello. So as discussed on Monday, just a little, I was going to do a little bit of feedback on the Brahms from the recording, and also just give you a few sort of exercises to dip in and out of for the cadential cadence chord recognition part of the oral test. The Brahms was superb. There are a couple of suggestions I want to make, but I've been sort of racking my brain since I listened to about how to articulate them in a video. They're very, very subtle things and nothing to worry about at all. So I've decided will do those in the next lesson. It's mainly to do with bringing out the melody of those sort of couplets, which 95% of the piece is absolutely there. But there's a couple of particular bits where it's getting a little bit lost in among the broken chords. But on the whole, I think that's a really, really strong performance. It's really, really good. And super accurate and everything else as well. So we'll do that. I'll kind of go through the feedback notes I've got for the Brahms in a couple of Mondays' time. So with regards to the oral, what I thought might be useful, I'll just go through a few examples of some of the different cadences, and then do some exercises in recognising them and recognising if any of the chords are in inversion and so on. But I would think of it in three layers. So first of all, recognising what the cadence is. That's obviously important. That will tell you at least what the last chord is anyway, and in most cases it will tell you what the last two of the three chords are. Then the next stage is being able to sort of tell what the three chords are. And then the final stage, for the best possible response, is being able to identify whether any of those are in inversion. So, for example, if I did a 2-5-1, where the two chord was in first inversion, so 2 brackets B 5-1. If you recognise that's a perfect cadence, then that's tick on level 1 because it's something 5-1. If you can hear that it's a 2 chord before the 5-1, you've achieved level 2. You've got 2-5-1, and then for the absolute sort of creme de la creme, if you can spot that 2 chord is in an inversion, then best possible mark. But remember, it's not all or nothing. So if you don't have to get all of the steps to get some of the marks in the exam. So don't worry if there are bits of it that you still not sure about. Let's start with a couple of things based around perfect cadences. So, as you know, if you hear a perfect cadence, it's going to be something 5-1. That's pretty much a given. And the 5-1 is going to be the 1 is going to be in root position if it's a perfect cadence. It absolutely has to be. The 5 chord could be a 5-7, or it could just be a normal 5 chord. So the first thing I want to do is just a couple of exercises to differentiate between a 5-7 chord and a 5 chord. All of these examples I'm about to do are going to be the following chord progression: 4, 5, 7, 1. So in C, 4, which would be the F chord, 5, 1. It is again. Compare how that changes subtly if we turn the 5 into 5-7. Can you hear there's just that little bit more tension? The 5-1, nice and relaxed. 5-7-1. Again, you would still, if it were a 5-7-1, for example, you would still pick up marks if you said 5-1. So let's play around with a few of those. So the next couple of examples I'm going to do, it's going to be something 5-1. I want you to shout at the camera what you think it is preceding the 5. So it might be the two most likely candidates by far. Three most likely candidates by far are 1, 2, and 4. So 1-5-1, 2-5-1, 4-5-1. And also say whether you think the 5 chord is a straightforward 5 chord or a 5-7. So here's the first one. It's still in C. So what we had there was 1 in root position, 5, that so you can see the keyboard. That might be useful for first of all. Now, what if I change that 151 into an inversion? I'm going to change it into 1B51. In other words, I'm going to move the first one chord to first inversion. Sounds subtly different. That's quite odd. You wouldn't tend to hear that very often. But what you will hear a lot, and this comes up tons on the tests as well, is 1C51. So having the 1 chord in second inversion. So its bass note is the same bass note as the 5 chord. That is mega common. So 1C, or chord 1 in second inversion, followed by chord 5, followed by chord 1. 1C51. Listen to how it sounds now if I do the same, but I turn the 5 chord into a 5/7. So I'll play those one more time. So 1C51, 1C5/7/1. It's a really subtle difference. So yeah, if it's going to be 151, it's almost certain to be 1C51 because it's the most common one there is. 151, where everything's in root position, is doable. You see that quite a lot. Frankly, it's less likely to come up in an oral test, though. It's probably possibly a bit too easy. So yeah, 1C51, mega common. We'll just focus on the perfect cadency ones here, and maybe a little bit of the imperfects as well, or the interrupters. We'll do that in a second. So what about 251? That's super common as well. Well, there are only 2 variants of this really. There's a straightforward 251, where you can kind of hear, then jump. But that 2 chord could be in first inversion, which brings its bass note much closer to the bass note of the 5 chord. Oh, sorry, that was terrible. There we are. And then home to 1 again. So 251 is very common, but so is 2 brackets B. So 2 in the first inversion, 5/1. You hear that an awful lot as well. Again, experiment with these, pause the video, improvise with them a bit yourself, that's all good. 2B51, so 2 chord in the first inversion, 5/1 is dead similar to what we're about to come on to, which is 4/5/1, because the bass line's identical. 4/5/1, 2B 5/1. The difference, and it is an incredibly subtle one, is that if it's chord 2B, it's going to be a minor chord, or a diminished chord if we're in minor keys. It's going to be a different tonality to the 4 chord. So that's 2 chord, 5/1, 4 chord, 5/1. Let me demonstrate that in C minor as well. So 2 chord in the second inversion, 5/1, 4 chord, 5/1. It's actually slightly easier to identify the 2 chord in a minor key because it is a diminished chord. So it sounds a little bit Frankenstein. 2, 5/1, or 2B, 5/1. Just a couple of examples there. Okay, let me do some examples for you to try and pick out by ear. So these are either going to be 1/5/1s, 2/5/1s, or 4/5/1s. Tell me which you think they are. For a bonus point, if it's 1/5/1, it will either be straightforward 1/5/1 or it will be a 1C5/1. If it's a 2/5/1, it gets so complicated. It could be 2/5/1 or it could be 2 brackets B, so 2 in the first inversion, 5/1. Mercifully, if it's a 4/5/1, the 4 will always be in root position, so you don't have to worry about any skullduggery with the 4-5-1. That will be a very straightforward one. So again, you're not likely to get that in the exam. It's a bit too straightforward. Okay, so D major first. What have we got going on here? We're going to have it is again. So have a mark if you said 2-5-1, and have an extra mark if you said 2-5-1, because there was nothing inverted there. I didn't do anything in inversion. Remember, it's only, if it's a perfect cadence, it's only going to be that first chord that's inverted. That the 5 chord might be turned into a 5-7. So it's actually unlikely in a perfect cadence, but it could happen. But if there's an inversion to be done, it's likely to be in the first of the 3 chords. Okay, what's next? Let's go to E minor. E minor. So what have we got here? Here we go again. So we had a 2-5-1, but the 2 chord was in first inversion, bringing the bass note close to the bass note of the 5 chord. Listen to that. You how close they are. Whereas if I kept the 2 chord in root position, the bass notes kind of noticeably further away from one another. You can tell a lot of it by listening to the bass note. Next one, back to C major. What chord progression am I doing now? Here we go again. That's our first chord. That was just a straightforward 4-5-1. Major chord. 4, 5, 1. I'll do the same chord progression in C minor. 5, 1. Good, 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 good. Just very quickly, the other one I wanted to cover briefly in this video, interrupted cadences. So the suddenly sad cadences, if you're in a major key, where it goes 5-6. Basically, it fools you into thinking it's going to be a perfect cadence, but it isn't. The reason I want to do that one here is because the 2 chords that approach the 3rd chord in an interrupted cadence tend to be the same ones you get in a perfect cadence. So the best way to think of it, an interrupted cadence is a perfect cadence, but that final chord takes an unexpected twist and goes to 6 instead of 1. So everything I've just said about perfect cadences applies with interrupted cadences as well. So it's very, you're very likely to have 1, C, 5, 6. So, for example, 4, 5, 6. 2, 5, 6. 2B, 5, 6. Moment of self-doubt there. But the reason I wanted to mention those is because in the interrupted cadence, that's the instance in which your 5 chord is most likely to be a 5-7, because having the 5 chord as a 5-7 chord makes the ear even more sure it's going to be a perfect cadence. So then when it isn't, it's more kind of, ooh, it's more dramatic. Oh, that wasn't a perfect cadence. So 4, 5, 7, 1, 6. Good. Okay, I shall stop waffling about them there. Happy to do more of these. If there are any particular bits of the oral or any music theory in general that you want me to go over in more detail, don't hesitate. Just a summary then. So some really, really common perfect cadences. 1-5-1, although it's boring. 1C, 5-1, super common. 4-5-1, 2-5-1, 2B, 5-1, so 2 in the first inversion. That's more common. The 2 chord is very often used in first inversion, because it just brings that bass note closer to the bass note of the subsequent 5 chord. And ditto for interrupted cadences, with a strong likelihood that the 5 chord will be a 5-7 to add extra kind of expectation that it's going to go to 1 and then fool you. Right, have a lovely, lovely day. Well done for putting up with more of my wittering about music theory. And have an enjoyable rest of the week. Bye for now.